fourth Perek in the Megillah is where the story of Megillah Esther begins to shift. While when we get to the sixth Perek and Achashverosh can't fall asleep, then the plan really picks up speed. But in the third Perek, as we learned yesterday, Haman has made this decree. He wants everybody to bow down. Mordechai is not. And there is an evil decree, Hipir, there is the lottery. Perek Hey already is Esther going to meet the king, or the plan being put into place. But Perek Dalet is the bridge between the evil decree of Haman and yet somehow the plan being put into place in Perek Hey. And while there's so much to talk about in the fourth Perek of the Megillah, we find this conversation between Mordechai and Esther, a debate. Mordechai telling Esther, we need to go. They go through a messenger, Hasach, as the Gemara tells us, it's Daniel, back and forth. You have to go speak. She says, I can't go speak now. And finally he says, listen, you have to go. If you keep quiet, listen, eventually we'll be saved, but we're going to be wiped out now. You have to go right now. And Esther realizes that even though there's protocol and she has to meet the king, she'll go. And that's it. And then everything shifts. And Perek Hey is her plan and the parties and his sleepless night of Achashverosh. What's the debate? How does Mordechai not realize that in Persia, there's protocols? There was protocols already in the first Perek of the Megillah. When Vashi doesn't come out, they don't know what to do. There are protocols for everything in Shushan. So Esther's response is a very normal one. I can't just go. I can't just speak to the king. I haven't been invited. But how does Esther not realize this is the time to save the Jews? Forget protocol for a minute. Throw it out the window. Pikuach nefesh. You have to save the Jews. So what are they arguing about? How does Mordechai not see the role of protocols? And how does Esther not jump at the opportunity to save the Jewish people? Explains the Kleisenberger Rebbe. The great Rebbe Yehuda Halberstram, who lost his family and his 10 children, his wife in the Shoah, and rebuilt a dynasty. The Kleisenberger Rebbe explains they're arguing about Geulah. We mentioned this briefly in a shir recently. They're arguing about how redemption works. And these actually based on different psukim and different Maimrei Chazal. Esther says, if God, if Hashem, if the Ribono Shalom wants us saved, there will be absolute, unbelievable miracles because God controls everything. And we don't want a partial redemption. She says, listen, if I go, there's two options. I could fail, and then they'll say, you couldn't do anything. God can't save his people. And if I succeed, they'll say, Esther, save the Jews, not like the song goes. So Esther says, if Hashem wants it, there'll be great miracles, and we'll have tremendous redemption, and everybody will recognize that it's God. Mordechai says, I agree, but we also need human initiative. And not only that, as Rabbi Soloveitchik explained, it's okay to have partial redemption, just a little bit. It might not be Beis HaMikdash, Mashiach redemption, but having a little Geulah is also Geulah. It doesn't have to be final redemption. This debate goes back all the way to Moshe and Hashem. When Hashem tells Moshe to take the Jews out of Mitzrayim, Moshe refuses, like Esther refuses. And Esther employs the same argument the Medrash says that Moshe does. Moshe says, I have a list. I'm not a great orator. But the Medrash Perek Rebbe Eliezer explains, Moshe is really saying, I don't want to go because I can't usher in ultimate redemption. I'm not in the Mevaser Geulah. I'm not the one who's going to bring the Mashiach and the Beis HaMikdash. If I go, Jewish history, destruction about the HaMikdash, pogroms, inquisitions, expulsions, don't send me. But in the end, we know that Mordechai's argument wins the day. And that's why it's somewhat of a muted holiday. We don't say Hallel, the Gemara says, because we're still servants of Achashverosh, but we celebrate partial wins. But I think the most fascinating part of this Perek of the Megillah is that while Esther is on the opposite side of this disagreement, she's the one who says we can't go, that we have to wait, it has to be totally from God. When she realizes that human initiative is important, she does it all. And she's able to take that level of responsibility upon herself to save the day almost single-handedly in a certain way. We live by both of these, by a sense of tefillah, by a sense of davening to Hashem, and by a sense of human initiative that is this partnership between